Hello, and welcome to the first of our lessons about Peer Gynt. Welcome back if you have been attending our live lessons previously. A huge hello and welcome if you are new to us. So the topic for this half term that's going to take us right through to the sort of half term break is going to be all about Peer Gynt and his escapades. But to find out about the music of Peer Gynt, we need to find out a little bit about the person Peer Gynt. Who is Peer Gynt? There's a question. Who is Peer Gynt? So, without further ado, let's answer that question. Peer Gynt is not a hero. Peer Gynt has a lot of flaws. So we're not talking about somebody who's a bit like Superman or Iron Man who's going to come in and save the day. Peer Gynt's not like that at all. That is not his character. Peer Gynt is the sort of person who drinks too much alcohol. He makes up stories and elaborates on the truth. He sells dodgy goods to people and things that he shouldn't. He even kidnapped a bride on her wedding day, fled with her to the mountains, and then left her there. He doesn't come across as a particularly lovely person. So he is what we call an anti-hero. He's the opposite of heroes. So Superman, Spider-Man, Iron Man, all of these people, Electra, all of these sort of superheroes, they are real heroes. People that do good are heroic. He's the opposite. He is an anti-hero because he's not doing good. He's out to make things good for himself. He is quite a selfish person. He only thinks of himself. And at the end of the story of Peer Gynt, all of that sort of catches up with him, which we may look at towards the very end of our sort of lessons. So that sort of gives you a background to this Peer Gynt character that we're going to find out all about. But why do we know about Peer Gynt? Well, Peer Gynt is actually a play. It's written in verse and it's by a Norwegian writer called Henrik Ibsen. And the character of Peer Gynt is based upon a Norwegian fairy tale about somebody called Peer Gynt. Now, Peer Gynt isn't sort of the same as Peer Gynt, and I think you'll understand why in a moment. The character of Peer Gynt, he was known for his adventures, but one of his exploits was rescuing 3 dairymaids from a troll, or from some trolls. He also shot a troll that took the form of a gigantic serpent that used to hinder travellers. Now that's quite a different sort of character in some ways to the Peer Gynt character. They're both going on these big adventures, but one's doing good, rescuing dairymaids. The other one, not so good. Not so good. It's not to say he didn't do some good things, but they're not as prominent. It's not as important. Ibsen added to the stories of Peer Gynt. He elaborated on them. So he had Peer Gynt travelling to Africa from Norway, and he crossed the Sahara Desert, and he met a Bedouin princess and all these sort of things. So he's elaborating on the original story and making it into a much bigger thing. So how does the music connect in with this? Because we haven't mentioned music yet. All we're doing is talking about the story. So what about the music? Well, Ibsen asked a Norwegian composer, Edvard Grieg, if he would write the incidental music for his play. Now, incidental music is sort of like the background music. So if you think of a film and you've got action going on in the film, there's something, explosions, or it might be a romantic scene, there will be music going on underneath. That's the incidental music. It's helping to set the scene. It's so it's not just all words. And it really adds something. If you think about films and how the music is so important to sort of setting the scene and helping people to understand what's going on in the action. You wouldn't have romantic music underneath Godzilla attacking somebody or something. It wouldn't work. Equally, you wouldn't have exciting, dramatic music going on under a romantic scene. It wouldn't work. So the incidental music is really important for setting the scene. And the original incidental music for the play there was about 90 minutes worth of stuff there. Now, about 10 years after writing the incidental music for the play, Grieg decided to take 8 sections out of the play music to create what we call the Peer Gynt Suites. So he had 4 pieces in one and 4 pieces in the other, and he gave them the inspiring titles of Peer Gynt Suite number 1 and Peer Gynt Suite number 2. Why not? You know, it says exactly what it is on the tin. Suite number 1 was published in 1888, and suite number 2 was published in 1893. And for a very long time, those suites were the only part of the music that was available for people to listen to from the Peer Gynt music originally that had been created. And it wasn't until 1908, which is the year after Edvard Grieg died, that the music for the original play, the 90 minutes worth in its entirety, was released for people to be able to perform. It wasn't produced during his lifetime. Now that's enough talking from me. Let's have a little listen to some of this music, shall we? Because I think it would be a really good idea for you to have a listen to the beginning of the first piece from Peer Gynt Suite number 1. Now, what I should have said at the start, and it's bad for me, you should be able to get onto the internet if you have got access to the internet and be able to see these worksheets. Now, these worksheets are sheets that I've produced. They're on the live lesson and resources page on the Theatre of Music website, and they are talking you through what's going on in the lesson, and they're giving you some of the information that I've given you as well. But it also gives you activities to do, and the activities that we're doing in the lesson today. So you can see, I don't know, there we go. The listening activity we're about to do is actually on the worksheet, and there's other stuff as well. You don't need them. It's not essential. You don't have to have these printouts to do what we're doing in the lesson today. They're just there to help you, and you can use them if you want to. You can manage just as well with a piece of paper and a pen or a pencil, which I've said before when we've been doing these live lessons. You know, it's really helpful to have a piece of paper and a pencil or a pen to write down things as we go. So now's the time to have that piece of paper and a pen, or be using the worksheet that we've got, because we're going to have a listen to the first piece from the Peer Gynt Suite number 1. Now, we're only going to listen to part of it. We're just going to listen to the first minute's worth or something like that. And while you're listening to it, what I'd like you to have a think about is describing the music for me. So as you're listening, think about the tempo. Now, tempo is how fast it is. Is it fast? Is it slow? Does the tempo change? Tempo. Dynamics. Is it loud? Is it quiet? Does the dynamic change? Does it develop? Does it get louder? Does it get quieter? How does that music change? Music does usually change. It doesn't stay at the same level all the way through. There's a clue. Texture. When we think about texture in music, really what we're saying is how much is going on? Is it just one instrument playing? Is it a group of instruments playing? Is it lots of instruments playing, an entire orchestra? Is it really, huge sound? That's the texture. That's what we're thinking about when we think about texture. Instruments used. So the instruments, it could be that you could identify some of the instruments. If you're not 100% sure, have a guess. what's there to lose? It's worth having a try. It's sometimes it's difficult to be able to, to identify musical instruments. The more you do it, the more you listen, the easier it gets. You start to identify more. It might be that you can identify families of instruments. You might say, oh, well, it's a brass instrument, or it's like trumpets and things, or it's a woodwind instrument like flutes and oboes and clarinets, or it might be percussion instruments like drums and tambourines and xylophones and glockenspiels, or it could be it's a string instrument like violins and cellos. See if you can identify the instrument, but if not, see if you can identify the family that it comes from. And as you listen, have a think about what it makes you think of. Okay, it doesn't matter about if you've got the worksheet. I always sort of suggest don't read forward, don't have the spoiler, see what you think it makes you think of. All right, because it might be everybody will have different ideas, which I think is great. So let's have a listen to Peer Gynt Suite number 1, the beginning section. Okay, so while you're finishing off writing down your ideas, I think it's very important to say that that's not a live orchestra playing. Theatre of Music is very conscious of copyright and making sure that we adhere to all the rules and regulations that are out there, and safeguarding sort of like musicians and their sort of their copyright and integrity. We're very, very sure of things like that. And so what I've done is I've created my own virtual orchestra, and I've created that version. I've played it in, I've created it using the computer, etc. So all of the sounds are computerized. Now, I am 100% somebody who says go out and perform, and live music is so important because I am a musician myself, and so I am performing and I am playing and I'm recording and I'm composing. So it's really important that you do listen to the live version after the lesson perhaps as well, so that you get a real feel for what it really should sound like. We're listening to computerized version at the moment so that we can comply with copyright. I'm going to play it to you one more time, just so that you can finish off writing whatever it is that you are writing down and getting a real feel for it. Here it is one more time. There we go. So let's have a little look at what is actually going on in the music at this point, at the very beginning of this piece of music. Well, first of all, let me tell you the title. It's called Morning Mood, or sometimes you'll just see it referred to as Morning. And the music is depicting the rising of the sun. So the sun is coming up, and it's all very quiet and thin texture at the beginning, and as it builds, that's the sun coming up over the horizon. The melody uses something called a pentatonic scale, and I don't expect you to have known that. I'm giving you a little bit extra detail too. So the melody uses the pentatonic scale, which is a 5-note scale. 5, pent means 5. And if you think about the piano keyboard, the 5 black keys is a pentatonic scale, and you can move that pattern to anywhere on the keyboard or on an instrument to create that pentatonic scale. The melody, the tune, alternates between the flute and the oboe. So it starts on the flute and then it goes to the oboe afterwards. And it's quite a simple little melody. It's repeated. It's got ideas that are repeated. Very effective, I think. And as the music builds, as I say, the sun breaks through. It gives this sort of breaking through effect. It's building and building as the sun comes up over that horizon. The time signature, how many beats there are in a bar. Now, if you've joined us previously, we've done lessons about time signatures and how time signatures work and what they mean and what beats in a bar are and things like that. But basically, the time signature says how many beats there are in a bar. And the most common time signature is 4/4. 4 beats in a bar, 4 crotchet beats in a bar would go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's the most common one. What we have here is a time signature that is 6/8. That means that there are 6 quavers in a bar. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And it has this sort of lilting feel to it. You could sway to it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So when you listen to it, see if you can feel that sort of sway motion, that 6/8, because 6/8 does tend to have that sort of sway feel to it. It really helps you to sort of identify that time signature, how many beats there are in a bar. The tempo is called allegretto pastoral. Now, allegretto means moderately fast, and I always think of allegretto as sort of being in the Goldilocks zone of tempos, because it's not too fast and it's not too slow. It's just right. So the allegretto is a moderately fast, medium fast pace. And pastoral means a piece that is peaceful. And it often means a piece of music that describes nature. So if you think about what's going on here, Morning Mood, it's describing the sun coming up in the morning. It is very much describing nature. And the woodwind instruments are used to imitate nature and to imitate the sound of nature. And the flute and oboe are really very good at being able to do that. The structure overall, if I played you the whole piece, or if you listen to the whole piece, you'll hear that the structure of the piece, how it's been put together, is what we call ternary form. And again, we've covered this in a previous lesson, but ternary form means it's like a sandwich. So you've got your opening idea on the flute and the oboe, that's A. You've got something different in the middle, which is your B section. And then you go back to your original idea, which is your A section again. And it sort of sandwiches everything, if you think of it as a sandwich. And that's what we call ternary form. So again, that's something that you perhaps wouldn't have picked up on. I'm just adding more detail to what you've got. And I'm hoping that you've come up with some fantastic ideas about how things sort of develop, the dynamics starting quite quietly and then building and building and building. And then as the sun bursts through, it's really loud. So lots of things there for you to sort of get your teeth into, and listen again and again, see what more you can pick up, because there'll be so many things within it. Grieg was a very clever man, very, very clever. So what I'd like us to do now is just listen to the end section of the piece. What features, we've just talked about this allegretto pastoral ideas, the pastoral, peaceful nature. What features of nature do you think you can hear while you're listening to the music? So think about nature, think about what's in nature. We've talked about all sorts of different things that you could associate with nature. Write down some of your ideas. And again, if you've got the worksheet, it's on there on the second page for you. So what features of nature do you think you can hear, and have a go at writing down your ideas? So here's the end extract. I'll play it you again, just so that you get a feel for it, and you've got time to write down your ideas, because it's much shorter than the first extract. Here it is for a second time. There we go. It's a truly beautiful piece of music. Absolutely lush. So, what features of nature do you think that you can hear through the music? Let's have a think. Well, what I'd noted down was bird song. The flutes and the oboes are doing something very special. They're doing little trills. And the trills, so it means you're playing two notes rapidly, one after another. Da, 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 da. It sounds like bird song. And that sort of gentleness, it's very serene, it's very tranquil, it's very calm, it's very pastoral. So the bird song, the flutes and the oboes. I'm sure you've come up with other things. Very, very often pastorals, sort of like the leaves rustling in the trees and things like that. It's a beautiful image, absolutely beautiful image. So let's think about what's actually going on in Ibsen's play at this point, because we've not talked about Ibsen's play at all for quite some time. We've been focusing on the music. So we've got this beautiful, serene mood. We've got this beautiful sunrise. Everything is beautiful. What is happening in Ibsen's story while Morning Mood is playing? Well, not what you think. Absolutely not what you think. In the story, Peer Gynt has just been stranded in the Moroccan desert by his friends, well, supposed friends, after his companions have stolen his boat. They've abandoned him there while he was asleep. And in the scene, Ibsen's play, it describes it as dawn. We know that, the sun's coming up. Acacias and palm trees, so there's trees everywhere. And Peer Gynt is sitting in his tree using a wrenched off branch to defend himself against a group of monkeys. I'm just going to leave that there for a second. Is that what it makes you think of? There's a lot of people that have said, well, no, it makes me think of a Norwegian fjord and the sun coming up over the or coming up over the mountains and things like that. Not in Ibsen's play. In Ibsen's play, Peer Gynt is in Morocco fending off monkeys with a branch while this incidental music is going on. That's quite an image. It's quite an image. Wow. Now, morning mood has been used in popular culture too. It's been used quite a lot by other people for various things. And I said about, it's been used in TV, it's been used in films. So here's just a few of the ways that morning mood has been used. So there's been a rock and roll version. Imagine a rock and roll version of that piece of music called Dawning, which was released in 1962. There's a film that was made in 1973 that uses the music. In 1998, The Simpsons, the cartoon, used it in an episode. I love this. The episode's called Bart Carney, and basically it's a cheeseburger is unwrapped in the early sunlight, and all of this drama comes from the unwrapping of this cheeseburger. Wow. In 1998, it was sampled for a song called Ocean of Light. So a sample is they take a little piece of it and then they use it within their piece of music rather than using the whole piece of music. It's in its entirety. And it's also been used in video games and on TV. So video games, the League of Legends has used it, and on TV, Cartoon Network used it for a while. And then it's also been used in an animated series called Troll Hunters, Tales of Arcadia, which when you think about it, the fact that we know that Peer Gynt, and I'm not sort of spoiling anything, Peer Gynt will be meeting trolls. You can see why they have used music from the Peer Gynt Suite to help with that. Now, I'm going to suggest to you that you should listen to Morning Mood again. I really would. And I would again sort of stress, listen to live recordings. These recordings that I have created are on the Theatre of Music website on the Live Lessons resources page. So you can listen to my versions 100%. Those two extracts are there already. But you can't be listening to a live orchestra playing it. It's far more dramatic even than what I've been able to produce. And what I'd like you to have a go at doing, and it's one of the activities that is on the worksheet that we've got, is have a listen and try and draw a picture of Peer Gynt in this morning scene from the Ibsen play. Think about the description that you've just read about what's going on. So there's Peer Gynt with his wrenched off branch, fighting off these monkeys in this tree. He's just woken up. He's discovered all of his mates have left him. They've nicked his boat. Everything is terrible. So have a go at drawing a picture of Peer Gynt as per the play, stranded in the desert, and use the music to inspire you and the scene description to help you. But bear in mind, whatever you create, it can't be wrong. It's your interpretation of what you're hearing and what you're seeing. It cannot be wrong. Okay? On the worksheet, there are some additional activities that can be found. Okay? So there is the opening melody, the music for the opening melody, which has been written out for you that you could have a go at learning how to play. And I'm conscious that some of you don't have musical instruments perhaps at home that you can use. That's okay. That's okay. You could play it on any melody instrument of your choice if you have got one. So if you've got a recorder, you could play it on that. If you play a musical instrument, you could use your instrument. But if you haven't got a keyboard or anything along those sort of lines, you can download apps from the internet that are virtual keyboards that you can play as a keyboard. And so it might be that you could play it on one of those. So there are ways and means of getting around these little problems. There's also a word search on there as well for you to have a go at. And they're on the worksheets. Again, they're on the website. So those additional activities are there for you. We have, oh, as I just said, there you go. We have just reached the end of our lesson today. So all of these resources are free, all of them. And to enable me to continue making them, if you're able, please consider subscribing to Theatre of Music. Effectively, it's paying my wages and allowing me to devote more time to creating the resources that you're seeing and using. And I love doing it. I love doing it. But as you can imagine, inputting all the music to create the virtual orchestra and everything, it takes a lot of time. As a thank you, each quarter, a Theatre of Music magazine will be sent to you with lots of fun facts, activities, quizzes, competitions, and more in it. And the magazine is only available to subscribers. So I'm going to leave you there. Morning Mood, Peer Gynt. Next week we'll be looking at the second movement of the Peer Gynt Suite number 1. I'm not going to tell you anything about it. We'll wait and see what happens in next week's lesson. We'll find out where Peer Gynt is, what tragedies have befallen him, and we'll go from there. But as I leave you, I will play for you that end section of the Morning Mood again, just to finish things off, because it's just so beautiful. So have a lovely rest of your day, whatever you're doing. From me, it's bye for now.